You're watching the Green Machine Live. You're home for Irish football news and nostalgia. David Dunn here, joined by Martin Prendergast. And on tonight's programme, we're going to be talking about Stephen Kenny's final game in charge of the Republic of Ireland. Of course, a friendly against the All Whites of New Zealand at Lansdowne Road tomorrow night. And also potentially James McClean's final game too. But you never say never in this game. Actually, just a bit of news that broke today about tomorrow's match is that Nathan Collins is out of that friendly and he has returned to his club. Now, before we get chatting about tomorrow's friendly, we're going to have a little talk, just a little tiny recap over the disaster that was the 1-0 loss in Amsterdam. Before, though, don't forget, we are Irish football's most interactive podcast. We give you a say, and we want to hear from you. So have your say, leave a comment, get involved, ask us anything you want. We'll try and answer them as best as we can. And the only way we know we can, which is basically not give you an answer. That's pretty much it, Martin, isn't it? That's how we do it here. That's how we roll.
That's it. I think the breaking news there, Dave, is you announcing that this is Stephen Kenny's last game. Has that been confirmed anywhere? Oh, sorry, Mr. Hill.
Well, I tried to get Mr. Hill for a comment, but he could be nowhere to be found. But no surprise there. Actually, speaking of which, obviously before we get cracking with New Zealand, Stephen Kenny had a very interesting comment about the loss in the Dutch capital the other night. Of course, that was our final game of the Euro 2024 campaign, which leaves us second bottom, lost 6. Played 8, lost 6, 1-2 against Gibraltar, a team that lost 14-0 to France. But anyway, here he is to the press today. I wasn't at the conference, not very well.
Sorry, bit of background noise there, sorry.
Don't you dare.
I know.
Can I continue, Martin? Is that all right? God, are you talking over me now as well today? Had that with the other fella in Amsterdam. God, I can't win, ganging up me. Anyway, so here he is. Talking about that loss in Amsterdam.
It wasn't like we lost 4-1 to Wales or got hammered in Cyprus or Macedonia, didn't it? It was a tight game of Holland that we lost 1-0 and deserved to lose. So it was one of those games. So I think it's a bit of perspective on that,
A bit of perspective on that, Martin. Very strange comments. Probably unwise. Throwing rocks whilst living with a massive glass house behind him there. But what do you think of that? Like bringing in, obviously having a pop of Martin O'Neill, Steve Staunton, and Mick McCarthy.
Yeah, it's just him. This is him knowing, I think, that it's come to an end, and this is probably his last. He's got 2 or 3 of these interviews left, and he's settling a few little scores. I think he's just making a point. I don't think he's deliberately gone out there to be malicious in it. I don't think that's really in him, but I actually don't mind seeing that with him. I wish he was a bit more spiky at times, and I wish he kind of had a bit more fight against Gus Poyet and stuff like that kind of thing. And even pitch side when he was trying to make subs over the campaign, he just didn't dominate that sideline, which I think he should have in particular games. And I think he had to have that a bit more about him. But yeah, settling. It seems a little bit like settling the scores here. He's obviously picking up. He's a bit tetchy about Martin O'Neill being on TalkSport in the UK, especially, and and Mick as well has said recently, whatever level you play at, it's results business, and Stephen hasn't got those results. And listening back to the podcast after the game the other night, Nick did make a valid point. That it does come down to results. The team are not with the manager long. He has to grind out results and get that from them and get those performances. And it's something sadly that Stephen Kenny's not done. But I think it is a bit spiky. I've seen Brian Kerr tonight. He picked up on it, didn't he? And he made the very valid point that, he's calling out the Macedonia and the Wales result, which were under the kind of guidance of 2 managers who did actually manage to qualify Ireland for tournaments. And, his numbers aren't stacking up, Stephen Kenny, sadly. And that's why it's the end.
It's a bit like, Alan Partridge, isn't it? Needless to say, I had the last laugh. I thought it was very interesting, James McClean's body language there, his facial expression, as he says that he's a bit like, what are you doing that for? You know what I mean? Yeah, I don't see the need for it. Although, to be fair, O'Neill deserves it a little bit because O'Neill's been spouting off in TalkSport a lot. Probably doesn't realise we get TalkSport in Ireland. He used to be kind of spouting off. But Mick has said stay silent. Stan hasn't said a word either. But
Stan
Yeah,
can't though, really, can he?
no, he can't. Bless him. But no. I thought it was bad for him anyway. I didn't see the point in doing that. And yeah, go have a bit of dignity, a bit of class. And Kenny is a classy guy. To be fair, I think he's let himself down there. And we got a few videos from today's press conference, and a very interesting one with James McClean. So for you guys watching out there on the YouTube and Facebook, I want to get your comments on this actually. Obviously, we had two very different experiences in Amsterdam. I was up in the posh seats, and you were down with the. Well, you couldn't even get into your seats, could you? What happened there, Martin? You arrived. You didn't get into the game until about 30 minutes into it.
Yeah, 30 minutes in. Yeah, this is an absolute shambles, and I'm really kind of pissed off, or not surprised, perhaps, that the FAI haven't commented at all on this. Many of you know I am a chairman of the London Supporters Club. We had over 120 fans going to the match the other night, and it was a sellout crowd, but it was a very organised and a decent crowd. A lot of kids actually were there at the match the other night. A Saturday night in Amsterdam. It was going to always be an attractive trip. I know it was a dead rubber completely, but it was something that everyone was looking forward to, and it wasn't a case of everyone going on the lash and leaving it late. It's ironic actually. On our
WhatsApp, were there an hour before, weren't they?
Yeah, I sent out a message during the day just by chance saying we have had issues recently with access to the stadium, and especially this scanning of tickets. Now, it's such an admin nightmare allocating those tickets. As I said, I allocated over 100 tickets to our members, and you are always double checking. It's a massive time consuming task that you're not sending the same ticket to someone else. It literally is a very manual, laborious task. So I'm very conscious of that, and everyone's got their tickets, and how do we get in? And not everyone is au fait with technology, and not even looking for their tickets and things on their phones. And
that must be very difficult for you. That must be very difficult for you, like going from the suitcase full of cash and tickets to like an online system.
Yeah, it was. Thank you. But no, in all seriousness, it does kind of worry me. We've had issues in the past with it, duplicated tickets, and it's like, basically, I'm not going to moan about the FA on this, but it has been. I've been sent two of the same PDFs, and I don't know that. I'm not checking what they're allocating me. It's all on kind of trust and faith, really. So, just very conscious of it. And I did say to everybody, look, make sure we get there early. There's plenty of time, get there. And I made the same decision to do that myself. We got the train out there, relatively simple. We were told to go to the wrong area, though. That was annoying. We went to the wrong station. I had to walk all the way around. It wasn't greatly signposted and communicated that the away end.
Yeah.
They brought us down one end, and it was like a completely dead end. And they let us walk down there, the stewards. That really pissed me off. Then we had to walk all the way around like an Astro pitch, quite a large multi-surface venue. And it brought us down by another station. So then when we got there, it was just a bottleneck. And
do you know what? I didn't get a lanyard, which I'm very sad about, actually, from the game in Netherlands. We didn't get one. We were given a ticket, and it told you to go into entrance F on the ticket. But we got an email from a very nice lady from the Dutch FA that actually said, no, the ticket says F, but actually you need to go into E. And I kind of had a bit of a tit for tat. But I was like, no, it's F. No, sorry, no, it's E. And he goes, no, you need to go to F. No, it's E. And I showed him the email. And then he realized it was media, and then he let me in early. But so when you got there, what was the issue? Was it the scanners weren't working? Was it stringent bag checks?
Yeah, it was basically the latter there. Like, there was two turnstiles basically, but you went through bag checks, security first of all, and that was a bottleneck into that. There was like probably 10 wide stewards doing that. You went through kind of metal kind of gate, and then arrived into like another 50 meters down. It was the turnstiles, but there was two of them, and you had to get things scanned there, and it wasn't moving. Just wasn't moving. People were having problems evidently with the scanners, but it wasn't moving, and they was checking you again there security wise. And at one stage, like, people did rush forward and try to kind of force the gates that kind of open to let people out, and only it's Irish fans, and everyone was kind of saying it. If it was any other fans, it'd have been uproar. I do know though that the police did charge at some of the fans who were, I don't know, perhaps panicking a little bit later on. I've seen a photo of a club member. I've got to obviously get the full story of this, but he's got a black eye. He's been hit by a baton, I know that other fans who travelled down to Australia, even to the World Cup this year, they had a problem inside the stadium and were referencing the health and safety issues. They'd actually been in Athens as well. Stephen McNulty, who was chatting to you after Athens,
Yes,
he actually was.
ejected,
Well,
wasn't
he left the ground. Yeah, he was ejected
Hmm.
with his wife, so he's not going to be causing trouble, I'm sure, with his wife, and he's not that kind of lad anyway.
He's not. He's not.
But it was ridiculous. And again, I know that I'll be honest with you. I know, like Gary, I've seen Gary Spain getting a bit of kind of grief and things over stuff as the supporters liaison officer. But I was outside the stadium 20 minutes after kickoff, and actually, I was the one I think who told the crowd that Weghorst had scored. But you know, Gary Spain's there in the middle of these two turnstiles trying to manage the crowd and stuff. I felt incredibly sorry for him because he's probably getting grief from people. But like, he travels the world watching Ireland. That supporters liaison role is something that he's doing, and for the good of Irish football, you would think.
Yeah.
And yet this is something he's having to manage outside. I think it does come back to the FAI. You see it with perhaps people who are aware of traveling when you go to like Celtic in Europe and Man United away in Europe. They'd bring a lot of the stewards from the clubs who know the fans to kind of come and help with the policing and stewarding around those events at away games, because you don't really piss on your own in a sense.
Yeah, but what? But I mean,
that won't ever happen, I don't think, because of maybe UEFA. But I just think the stewarding was ridiculous, policing was ridiculous, well, non-existent basically. And then you've got these problems with scanners. I don't think people left it late though. I wouldn't give much blame.
No, there's people there now.
Yeah.
There's always late World Cup, but do you think? I mean, I know England, for example, because a mate of mine is actually like he's a security manager with English away fans, and they travel like it does strike me weird that the FAI haven't done that. They haven't sent certain stewards or a security team to go to kind of liaise with their Dutch counterparts or wherever. Would that help things? Maybe if they went there and they were clued up on a security plan, then they could action that forward. I've worked in stadiums for years all around England. I've never seen this problem. When I have, sorry, that's a lie. I saw it with the West Ham stadium when it first opened, the brand new one, and they had teething problems there. That was kind of the exception to the rule, but normally it's quite good in England. Very good at, we're master cures in the UK.
Yeah. The reason why though that's not there, like Gary's job as supporters liaison was to give information out, but he's reliant on that being accurate from what's provided by the Dutch FA.
And it wasn't.
Also, no, and it wasn't accurate. Joe McClean is going out there with the FAI security and knowing what the away allocation is. I mean, even in there, I mean, I know it's Ajax's stadium, but you've got the plastic glass partitions keeping it in. Nowhere to hang your flags. A lot of people had flags taken off them, weren't permitted to come in, and then they were thrown down the side, and no one knew where they were. Now people are spending hundreds of pounds on these flags, and then it's like, oh, no fire certificate, or we're not happy with what's written on it. That is something that needs to improve. The other thing, though, is, as I said, Joe McClean's gone over their security. Gary's doing his bit as well. But it comes down to money, Dave. As we know, these fan supporters groups, the Welsh FA have got they've got people on the payroll who are representing supporters. We don't have that, and that's just because we have no funding. And that's the irony. We're always talking about government funding. UEFA, I think, should be funding a supporters kind of committee, in a sense that there's a represented all the stewards from the Aviva who are trained on. It's probably a bit difficult for the Aviva stewards because they're not hosting European tournaments and things like that there, to be aware of UEFA's kind of rules and regulations. But it's not hard to train people and have a pool of people who go over and they are there and they're on the ground, or even FAI people. There's enough people traveling watching Irish matches who work for the FAI. If they wanted to kind of do that role, just to kind of be a bit more protective, you should have fans representation who we can go to if there's problems. And at the moment, it's Gary, and I will be chatting to Gary, and I know the supporters, the Confederation of Supporters Club, are going to be putting together their kind of versions of their stories and stuff, because you do hear you have a lot of hearsay and a lot of rumors. And I think we need accurate representation here, because that's the same thing at Athens though, but little got acted on in Athens, so that's why there's uproar, and something's going to happen, sadly. And it only is that the Irish fans are looking after ourselves, basically. It didn't.
Nothing changes if nothing changes. So you guys watching at home, if you had a similar experience, what was your experience in Amsterdam? Did you get in okay? Were you stuck at the gates? Did you get roughed up by the police or security? Flag, just tell us in the comments. We got one there actually. We'll get the ball rolling on that. We will get to the comments a bit later on, but I will read out Stephen Ring's comment here. Evening, lads. Had a similar situation to Martin where a cop on horseback sent me to the away gate, but the entrance to it was blocked off to us to keep it separate from the Dutch fans. Then got told to go back where I came from and walk around the random AstroTurf, sending us walking through thousands of Dutch fans. Anyway, I know the entrance he's talking about, actually, because he tried to do it to me, but I was killing time before I could enter. Luckily, I got there just before the hassle started, so got in relatively quickly. Our leash risk flag also wasn't allowed to be hung up, even though there was loads of space. So if you had a similar experience to Stephen, let us know. Tell us in the comments there. And actually might help correlate a little case and send it off to the FEI and hopefully to do something about it this time. But anyway, that was the Dutch experience. Which was pretty handy. So we're going to move it on to tomorrow's match, of course. Many believe, maybe I jumped the gun a bit, as Martin rightly pointed out, many believe to be Stephen Kenny's final game in charge. He was asked on his future, and this is what he had to say.
You know, I saw clarification before this window in regard to my own position, and you know, if that wasn't the case, I would have said, you know, I would have made that clear early in the week. But from my point of view, obviously the decision has been made next week, you know, the kind of whatever. But if it is my last game, so be it. Like I wish if there is a new manager to follow me in that regard, I wish him well.
Very classy there from Stephen Kenny. We did talk at the top of the podcast. Maybe we mentioned not so classy comments, but that's classy there. You know, saying that whoever comes in, he's going to wish him well. You know, I think Stephen, he's not a stupid man. He is quite an intelligent man, actually. And, you know, he can see the writing on the wall here, can't he? Let's cut the nonsense, Martin. This is his final game tomorrow, isn't it? Notwithstanding.
Yeah. No, sadly, the ship has sailed. And it's with regret kind of saying that. Like, I did want it to work out for Stephen. Really nice guy. Yeah. Just so many things have gone wrong for him. And I know that there'll be that analysis in due course again. But, you know, I think he has come across there as a genuine Irish fan. He wanted to do the best he could for Irish football. And sadly, he's failed. And he's been let down with players as well. And there's lots of other factors in there as well, of course. But he just does look as a beaten man. And even the post-match in Amsterdam the other night, you know, he's talking about the standard stuff that we knew he was going to come out with. And
I thought the pre-match, actually, I was there for the pre-match in Amsterdam. Now I don't get to go to the post-match anymore because I do the stream live from the stadium. And I thought it was a very gentle pre-match, well, day before. I think the reporters knew, the press pack knew. You know, we all know it's over. What's the point in tormenting the man any further? You know, It was a very chilled out press. I thought they were actually going to ask him at one point, how's the kids? You know, how's the family going, Stephen? It was that sort of atmosphere. You know, it's just like, there's no point. You know, you can't really lambast him because he's going.
That's exactly it. He does look a beaten man. I think we'll probably show a few clips later from again how he engaged with James McClean later, and I think it's I think it's kind of nice the way this is ending for him. You know, that it's going to be in front of the home fans. It's not worked out. I know there won't be a mass crowd there. It's nice it is with James McClean as well. That kind of symmetry.
41,000 tickets sold.
41,000 tickets sold. There'll be 30,000. There won't be.
Still not bad.
There. Yeah, but tickets are sold though, aren't they? They were sold in the package. They were sold in. That's just done, a season ticket, and I know they've had renewals and stuff because we always live in hope for another day with Irish football. But I think it will be. I think he'll get a nice. I hope he gets a nice, respectful ending. We will win, but that'll be a good thing anyway. We will win, without doubt. And I think it will be quite emotional. It's the end of the campaign. I would expect to see the players do a lap of honour. I want to see that, to be honest. And people will probably criticise me for saying, well, they've flopped, they've failed. What the hell are you going to want to see them and applaud them for? But I think they will show their appreciation for the Irish fans who are there and supporting them. I think he'll be quite emotional, Stephen Kenny, because this was his dream job. Let's not forget that. He came in under 21s. You know, that was all powers that be before him that kind of made those decisions. Whatever way we look at it, he got the opportunity for the playoff. It's not worked out for him. He's had 2 campaigns, and it's just not worked out. And I know I keep saying about the legacy of him, and I think it will reflect kindly in him that he was adventurous enough to try to change things and play football and bring players through who I think will, capping them early. I know we had that. We've had this conversation many a time, but I think in 2 more campaigns' time, we'll have players who have been to Paris, they've been to Holland away. They know what to expect from that. If we get them again, those circumstances that you're dealing with, and there'll be a lot more experience, hopefully, at their clubs, and 20, 30 caps, 40 caps between them, like individually. So
I was reading the Star today, and I always like to read a bit of Amo when I'm over. I am in Dublin, by the way, folks. I didn't post anything because I literally went straight from the airport to where I'm staying in a mate's house and just to bed because I'm not very well. I got the lurgy again. But I was reading the Star, and Eamon Duffy said that Liam Brady made an interesting observation. Of course, he blames the players. Eamon Duffy does. And he said Liam Brady's final comment on the team was that this was the worst Ireland team group of players ever, or in the last, whatever, so many years. First of all, I think that's unfair. But anyway, and he was kind of blaming the players, and he was saying Kenny doesn't have the players, etc., etc., etc. He did criticize him on the Andrew Moran move of pulling him out. He was the captain. He was going to be the captain for that game against Norway. Pulled him out, didn't play him. I agree with that 100%. But he said that Liam Brady, someone like Jonathan Hill isn't equipped to make the decision to fire Kenny. Maybe he's got a point there. He also talked about Mark Canham, our director of football, technical director, which is basically another way of saying director of football. He said about him, well, I've never heard of this guy. Who's this guy? We never heard of Mark Canham before. And Dumpy says he's still got a series to ground in England. I don't know how true that is. And he said actually somebody who would be an excellent move for the FAI would actually have Liam Brady as a technical director, which is something I found interesting. Now, for me, I think Brady's time has come and gone. Maybe, I think he left that role about 2014 with Arsenal. And, maybe when he left Arsenal would have been ideal to get him on board with the FAI. But I don't know about you, Martin. I get tired of the observation that this is like, people say, okay, this is the worst group of Irish players. They're not. It's not exactly a terrible team. You've got Ireland's most expensive player, Nathan Collins. He needs to tone up a bit on his defensive duties. You got Evan Ferguson, who's going to be the next wunderkind. He's already worth an estimated 100 million quid if you go by transfer market. I know it's not an official evaluation. The midfield isn't too bad. You got Jason Knight. You got in defence. You got a decent goalkeeper, good goalkeeper, Gavin Bazuna, kept us in the match the other night. There is enough there for a manager with more nous and wherewithal at this level to get something out of that team, get them playing something decent, organised, good football with a bit more aggression, and could have done better in that group. Or am I just...
No, I agree with you. We could have done better in the group. Like, it came down to the 2 Greek games. We were poor in both of them and didn't win them. And, France, we can argue about, very close there at home, but for the Collins, the chance at the end saved amazingly. But, at the end of the day, Holland 1-0 the other night was comfortable. That's all they had to do. France, if you'd have said to France when we played them in Paris, you need to win by 5 goals to qualify for the Euros, they would have they'd have done that. They played at a different level. And, even going back to previous campaigns, we didn't do it when we had to in Glasgow. We've missed these opportunities. We get carried away as Irish fans, and I'm guilty of that, of course, because, you're going to games, you get caught up in it all. You want them to do well. It's the heart over the head often. Luxembourg away, I'll always remember fondly. I mean, it's mad, really, traveling and watching Ireland over the years. That was one of the best away games I've been to. Brilliant fun. Maybe that shows you how starved we were of success, but that's one of the most recent successful games we've been to. Even remembering Glasgow, Scotland at home as well, the 3-0. But I mean, we spoke about that the other day in Amsterdam, Dave. I spoke to someone about it and said, if you look back at that game, Scotland could have easily won that game in Dublin, and everyone thinks it's a 3-0, an amazing performance. It wasn't. So that was alarm bells for me. But I think with Mark Canham, it's just trust, isn't it? We've got no money, we've got no infrastructure really yet. I know we've got underage, under 21s, under 19s coming through doing very well. Under 16s, of course, won the cup the other day, didn't they? The Victory Shield.
Victory Shield, yeah.
we're doing stuff underage, and that's brilliant to see. But it's just it's waiting to get that through. I mean, we're quite safe with goalkeepers defensively. What I think Kenny, where he's made his mistakes with the squad, I think they're very talented players. I think Nick made the point the other night, and I think you were on the same show as well. But more, it's where he tactically get his squad selection and playing players who have
Square pegs
consistently
round
let him
holes.
down. Like Alan Brown
Yeah.
having to go on the right wing or wherever he went the other night. Jason Knight, how he's been treated. I mean, these lads are turning up for Ireland, but they're not being, if you say Jason Knight, right, you are the main person on the left. That's it. Like we know Ogbene is our starting right forward now, right? We know that's the
Yeah.
way we want to play. So if you're
But-
not fit, then who comes in? And it's like Jason Knight, or it might be Alan Brown. It might be, he just doesn't know.
I read a stat, I think it was 8. It was either 6 or 8 players have played as a left wing back. If you need to go through 8 players and probably 6, let's say 80% of those players you put in there aren't actually wing backs, they're makeshift wing backs, then that tells you haven't got wing backs. So why are you trying to play a system with wing backs when you don't have them? I mean, I'm not a football tactical genius. I'm far from it. I mean, even I can see that. And, you play on players like Callum O'Dowda. Sorry, Martin, have to have a little dig out there. Who clearly, look, you and I saw him. He wasn't doing the job that fullback, that a wing back should do. Wing back needs to bomb on, needs to bomb forward, create chances, balls in the box, especially when you got the big man, Evan Ferguson, up front. But he's not doing it. He's tucking inside because he's not a wing back. It's not his game. He's just come back from 2 almost career-ending injuries, so he's not going to be able to bomb forward. Plays him against Greece, gives away a penalty. Why? Because he's not a wing back. He's not used defending to defending in his box. He's used to hanging on the edge of his box, for a counter attack. Play through the middle. It's just these little, and that's just one. That's just one that brings in Liam Scales, puts him down he plays him as a left. He played him as a left back, didn't he?
Yeah.
Liam Scales. He's a centre back. He's a left centre back, not a wing back. And there's a whole different, even I know this as well. Different playing in the channels than playing in the middle. Completely different. Needs a different mindset.
The mindset we were chatting about the other night, it was brilliant. During the other night, I was actually sitting with a friend of mine, Sean O'Halloran, and we were just chatting about actually youth football and coaching the kids, our sons and kids teams and stuff. And it was actually very similar to what you're seeing on the pitch out there. That's the point we both agreed on. Look where Alan Brown's going. Now Jason Knight's over there.
Yeah.
It's like running a kids team, letting everyone have a bit of a chance here and trying this and this might work. It was really like that though. It really was. And now Jamie McGrath comes in and you can't really see what they're doing and their patterns of play. And you made a good point the other night for their goal, Holland. I know we've done all the post match of that, but John O'Shea come in there. He's got to be controlling and coaching that back 3-5. He's played. He's experienced. Our midfield. Someone actually told me this is secondhand. I can't wait till ask Liam Brady his thoughts on this, and we've got him coming to the Claddagh Ring in middle of December with Riss London for a book signing. But someone said, Brady at another one recently, Q&A said, this is the work. We just don't have a midfield. And I know Cullen does a very good job in there holding. I'm a fan of Cullen. But, creatively, we haven't really got a midfield. And that actually goes back, though, to Martin O'Neill time as well, where, trying to get rid of Glenn Whelan quicker. So is Christie. O'Dowda played there on the half turn as a kind of attacking midfielder in Denmark. So it's always been a real problem for us at the position of that. But hopefully we're going to have players coming through there. The player as well that we're still missing out. And I know League of Ireland fans will call for Jack Byrne. I think the day's gone there. But the player who we haven't needed this campaign, ironically, is the one who, against a very defensive-minded team, is the one to open them up. We haven't, like, a quick, clever player around the box, like Wes, Andy Reid. Again, players that like that.
Maybe Andy Moran will be that player eventually.
Maybe, yeah, he will be. And again, it comes back, though, to the question, and one of the biggest things that we will find out this one in due course, this Schmodix things is just a bigger mystery. Like there's no way that he should not have had him in that.
Apparently, I just want to add context to this now. This is what's been given, so don't shoot the messenger. And by the way, guys, see your comments coming in. Tell us what you think. Are we talking shite? Do you agree with what we're saying? I know Martin talks shite. I don't. But Sammy Schmodix apparently cannot be away. There's a personal issue going on at home. He can't be away with the team for 10 days. I don't know what that is. That's the reason given. Whether that's just, look, I don't fancy you, but I'm under a bit of pressure. Can you just go away, please? I'm gonna give an excuse, or there is something going on, so I genuinely don't know. There's also another thing as well I noticed with the coaching, and two fundamental issues, just to very quickly go back to Amsterdam, and then we're going to move on to the James McClean bit. One was pointed out to me, but one I noticed, obviously, there was one where Matt Doherty, when he ran forward, he went on a kind of a clumsy run, and he found himself deep just outside their box. Passes it off to Ferguson, who's got about 3 players around him. He loses it. They start counter-attack, so they push up deep. So Doherty is in an offside position, and he's kind of sauntering back. They're going forward, so we get the ball back. Now, 2 things. We're under the cosh because you've laid off a very stupid ball. You should be belting to get back. Doherty doesn't bother, right? Light little jog. Second of all, we're now in possession, but we can't do a quick layoff because he was in the channel.
Play him in. Yeah,
can't play him in. So then you hold it and you got to, I better come back then. Then it's gone, and then you just took it square.
But that's what we were the other night. Not to get too much into that game the other night, but
yeah,
we're just too slow. Like when we were counter-attacking, we were letting them reset. You can't do that. Like you've got to take them by surprise. You've got to go quick. When he's coming back, that we're not technical enough to break teams like that down. You are playing counter-attack. You're opening up their spaces from their overcommitment, and they're transitioning basically. But Doherty, that's just shite. That Man United players get hammered. Man United players get hammered. Like when it shows them losing the ball and not getting back, like McTominay's been dug out.
Yeah,
Rashford. But you've got to be a hell of a player. Like the only player I've ever, I know I don't want to go for too much of a tangent here, but I've said when you go and watch Lionel Messi play, right? You say to kids, go and watch Lionel Messi, and I always say, watch him, but watch him attacking, because defensively he does nothing, because he never tracks back, he never runs back, because he's just so clever. He doesn't have to. He's the best ever, so he will just come back slowly, and he will be in offside positions. Sorry,
but the obvious point.
Doherty doesn't have that. He's got to work harder. That's it.
And he's a defender.
Messi.
Yeah, and he ain't going to do it. He ain't going to do it.
Committed.
Yeah, and then that was when I noticed, and my head was in my house. I don't know what happened after that, because I was just like, for fuck's sake. And then when it was pointed out to me by my mate, very tactically astute, Frank, if you're watching, how you doing? Happy birthday. And he said he was watching it, and there was, and this is the coaching side of it. There's Keith Andrews screaming at, I think it was Knight and the 2 forward lads, to press the goalkeeper and the Dutch back 4. So they do what the coach tells, and he press up. But the rest of the midfield and defence just stayed back.
Yeah.
And he created an ocean of space. That's just basic coaching. That's one of the many, many flaws that you could point out. You could write a War and Peace style novel on the flaws of this era over the last.
But that is basic coaching. That is basic.
Simple.
That's like. We don't ever like getting too technical, low blocks and all that crap and high press, right? But there's triggers. That's the thing. Like when it goes there, they should know that's a trigger. Evan, you go closing first. It's a little bit like how you coach kids a little bit now, like how you push, but you push all as a kind of unit up. And you can see that. You can see the gaps. And clever players, I mean, the Dutch did it against us when they managed the game at home, when we were at home. And look, I don't want to get too technical on it, but it is just, I think I've said as well, the person coming in replacing, I'm not really worried about the main manager in a sense. We just got to have really good coaches who are very good. And I hope we will get a better chance to talk about who we think it is, because there was interesting comments the other night. Anyone I met was asking. But there's lots of rumors and stuff. But I think we need a real good coaches, and it's the manager. I think I think he's got to be more media savvy than Stephen Kenny's been, because I think that's been a thing that's been damning on him as well.
That has let him down a bit, but that obviously there'll be more time to talk about that, because the board meeting is literally a week after tomorrow. A week from tomorrow, that's when the board meeting will basically. We pretty much suspect that they will not renew Stephen Kenny's contract, and he shall probably head off to Lincoln City, where he has been tipped. One player who's also tipped. Well, he's announced it's his final game in green. I don't know. I don't know. And I'll tell you why I don't know. I'll tell you what. I won't tell you why I don't know if this is James McClean's last game. In fact, I'm going to let the player tell you himself. This was an interesting. I put together what he said, James McClean, at the press conference today, and what he said later on tonight to Tony O'Donoghue. Not Donegue, Martin. Donoghue.
Cork Todd, I know him as. All right.
Cork Toad, yeah. Are you saying people from Cork?
Cork Todd.
Okay.
That's his Twitter handle. Sorry. We're Twitter
Right,
friends.
he's a lovely man. He is actually a lovely man. Right, here's the clip anyway. Have a look at this. Tell us at home what you think of this.
Did you have a word with Stephen Kenny? I did have a word. Like obviously when Stephen told me that I wasn't going to be in the squad, which for me was obviously it's something I've never experienced before. Like I said,
That's the wrong clip. Sorry. Tell us what you. Well, we're going to play that in a second, but yeah, here's what you said today at the press conference, and then later on to Cork Todd.
Look, I'll be quite honest with you. It's not because of my body, or I feel I've got my abilities diminished. I still feel as fit as ever. I still believe that I'm the best person for the role. But look, there's other factors, and I've got personal reasons, and I've got my own reasons why I'm stepping away. And I feel like now's the right time.
great and in yourself, but being made to feel great is two different things. Every player wants to feel important, and that's one of the factors in why I decided now is the right time to walk away.
Yet again, the body language from Stephen Kenny when he says, "No, I still feel I'm the best player." Stephen Kenny kind of looks at him and is like, you know, there's a very awkwardness there when they're talking shop about the current setup. Now, there's a clip we're going to play later on. It's a lovely moment between the two, but that particular moment, there seems like a bit of an awkwardness there. Now, obviously, he has been involved in every Ireland squad. I didn't actually realize this. Every Ireland squad since the squad he made his debut in, he's been called up to. And he goes on a little bit. I'm going to play a little bit more of a clip, Martin, and we'll get your thoughts on it. And your thoughts at home, by the way. See it comes coming in. Keep them coming in. But it's a little bit more on the reason why.
Did you have a word with Stephen Kenny? I did have a word. Like obviously when Stephen told me that I wasn't going to be in the squad, which for me was obviously it's something I've never experienced before. Like I said, every squad I've been in, never ever turned down the call up. There's been times where I've had injections, painkilling injections, numb injections, epidurals. I've come back from injuries when I haven't been right. They played for Ireland where I've seen lads pull out with knocks, but will play for their club 2-3 days later. That's never been me. I always believe it was country before club, you know. So to be left out, it obviously hurt, but the sad thing was when I was left out, it didn't hurt as much as I thought it would have been, because I was already with the idea that November was going to be my last anyway.
Didn't hurt as much as I thought it would, because November was going to be my last day anyway. I thought someone was going to ask him, "This is hurting you, isn't it?" Back to Roy 2002. You can see he's quite angry over it. Now, when I watched I wasn't at the press conference today in Abbottstown, but when I watched it, he said, "I got my own personal reasons." You could see by the look in his face, you know, he kind of looks to the right like that, you know, something body. I'm in great shape. He is in great shape, by the way. And then he started listing off how he played every single game for Wigan last year, and he had the most tackles as a wing back, etc. in the championship. And then, you know, he feels there's a snobbery towards him because he's playing in the 4th division of English football for Wrexham in League 2. Do you think he's justified there, or is he throwing his toys out of the pram a little bit?
I think back to the press conference when he was left out for the last game, and Stephen Kenny kind of did say that, you know, he was asked about Wrexham and the different levels of where he's playing and things like that. So I think that's a big factor in it, that he's not. But he was asked, wasn't he? If Tony O'Donoghue, I think, asked him, if you were playing for Derry, do you think you'd be picked today?
Yes.
And he said no. So he thinks it's a snobbery thing. I wasn't comfortable, I'll be honest, with James McClean when that squad was announced and he announced that it was going to be his last game in November. That it was like a bit of a deal. Like, well, I want to retire on my own terms, Stephen. Thank you very much. And he announced that before Ireland's squad. A little bit
Obviously, he had
narcissistic, but that is,
he had the conversation. Obviously, yeah.
He had, but I mean, him breaking it, I think it was undermining the manager. And then obviously it brings it into the press conference. Stephen Kenny's going to be asked about it, and then it just opens it up as a story. But they've got a very good, close relationship. And to be fair, I'd rather dwell on, the body language there is awkward at times, but there's mutual respect there, without doubt. And I think even James McClean, like, it's, Kenny has loved his rambling stats and telling us what he's done and how many he's capped and all that stuff and results. And even the FAI have released tonight, this will be the second, but like since 1972, if we lose tomorrow, it will be the first time we've lost 3 games to an official nation or something like that. It's weird stats coming out, but I think it's amazing that he's been called up into every squad, and I think it's a testament to him and his fitness. I mean, Martin O'Neill, I've heard him talk glowingly of James McClean, of his just incredible will to win and be competitive, and his fitness. Like, he's a fitness freak. You often saw him posting videos of doing these intense training sessions, boxing and things. He's an ultimate athlete, and for a footballer, I remember seeing him 2012 and thinking, look at him, he's just all left foot. God, how limited. Like, this is where we're going. Like, and I never ever thought that guy is going to get 103 caps. He's always been there for us. I think it's incredible. And, he's got the fans behind him 100%, the Derry Brigade, of course. And he's just so brutally honest. And I've seen him after the 100th cap he got. I saw him back at the team hotel with his family, and it was a massive celebration that night. Very proud moment for the family. But I saw Stephen Kenny go over to that family, and, mutual respect without doubt, and photos.
Yeah.
Stephen Kenny's known him for years, and I know we'll come on and show that clip later on, which we can talk a bit more about. But I hope he has a great night tomorrow night, James McClean. I thought it was over with the 100, to be honest, and I thought he's getting 2 of them. Basically, he's getting 2 goodbyes, but it will hopefully put asses on seats at the Aviva, and
hopefully so.
Yeah, and I think
he deserves it.
Like, not many of them. I like the fact he said, "I'd love. We will find out in time." James McClean will have a book, I'm sure, at one stage. I hope he does, because it'd be quite interesting. But we'll find out who he's referring to when he's saying, like, and different lads didn't come there. And I remember, like, when he wasn't even playing for teams, for his club when he was injured, and then he would play for Ireland. And I was thinking, how's he doing that? It's easy though for him to say he always turned up and stuff, and wherever lads went to clubs. James McClean was never really playing at the very top level in English football. All right, maybe playing in the Premier League, obviously with Sunderland and things like that, but and Wigan. But his manager, he was never going to be dictated to by a manager. He was never at that level to say, you are not going, and then that would have been interesting.
Especially when he got players. I mean, that's why he got bombed out of Wigan, didn't he? No, who did he get bombed? Stoke. He got bombed out of Stoke by Michael O'Neill, because you went injured, and that's what he's talking about. Michael O'Neill got fired, and he was his best. He was one of his best players. So he has. To be fair to, and I would really read James McClean's book, because he tell it as it is. Yeah. He's no filter. He has no filter. Sometimes to his own detriment. But yeah, he got bombed out of Stoke. Michael O'Neill said, well, you went injured, went against me. So they obviously had they had a bit of a bad relationship anyway, because obviously Michael O'Neill being Northern Ireland, and
history of that,
the history of it, and James McClean switching allegiances. Yeah, it's going to be very, very interesting tomorrow. I don't think it's his last game, to be honest with you. I don't. I think Wigan are going to get not Wigan. Wickham. Not Wickham. Christ. Wrexham. Wexford. Wrexham. I think Wrexham are going to get promoted. Now, if he goes to Derry, then yeah, maybe. But he could probably be playing in the League of Ireland when he's 40. That's not against the League of Ireland.
Yeah, he could go to America though as well if he really wanted to. Like, he could go somewhere.
Phenomenal shape.
Yeah.
It's a phenomenal shape. All right. Well, I'll tell you what. Shall we? Don't think there's anything else for you to talk about. Should we get to the comments, Martin?
Yeah, of course, yeah.
Let's do it. Let's see what you guys said to us here. Darryl Connor, story. Let's how you doing, Darryl? Darryl with the first comment. FAI posted a quote. Kenny said that it could be his last game from today's presser, then deleted it. Yeah, I mean, I think that's just more semantics, isn't it? They kind of what you said there, Martin. Has it been confirmed? Hasn't, but let's be honest, it's happening. Wheelo123, how you doing, Wheelo, on YouTube? He's calling out results against Wales whilst his team were beaten by Luxembourg. Very odd from Kenny. He did also beat Luxembourg as well, 3-0, so let's not forget that. Darryl again. O'Neill really trying to get digs in even after supporters saying we short memories, etc. Don't think there's negativity in Kenny's comments. Still wouldn't have went into it, though. Yeah, I'd go with that, Martin. Martin O'Neill has been, I think he forgets that he was actually superseded by Mick McCarthy, not Stephen Kenny. Never says a word about Mick McCarthy, but he kind of goes after Kenny, maybe because Kenny did go on a little bit about philosophy, want to play a better style of football, etc. Brian Kerr did say that, didn't he? He said, well, Kenny shouldn't have said that, and he did kind of a little dig, so there you go. It's going to come back to bite him in the arse anyway. Kieran Fagan. How you doing, Kieran? About time Kenny went too much for him and went too much. Oh, time Kenny went too much time for him and can't hold an interview. Time is up, says Kieran. Del Hart. This sounds very like Athens all over again, alluding to the controversy over our fans trying to get into the stadium. Yes, it does, and it seems to be a thing on the continent. Happened in Paris with Liverpool fans. Happened during the Rugby World Cup. And now it's happened to us in Athens and now again in Amsterdam. They don't do queues, the Dutch. They do everything else really well. They do not do queues. Niall Conlon. Kenny has no experience. Bring in Roy Keane as manager. God, another one. No. I'm sorry. No, just no. I was actually reading his book. I'm still reading his book, the second half on the way over. That's a great book, that is. I'm sure you probably have it by your bedside table, Martin, do you? Pages stuck together.
Jesus, the Bible, that is.
Bet it is, yeah. Is that what you do with the Bible, is it?
Let he without sin cast the first stone, Dave. My favourite Bible.
Do you see any stones here, Martin? There are no stones. Maybe stone in Amsterdam. I'm sure you and I were probably a little bit wobbly. We did not partake. However, there was excessive smoke in the bar we were in, so we probably did come out a little bit. Yeah, I was a bit... Excuse me. Sorry, I do apologise for my chest. I was a bit... Ooh, I did have the munchies coming out of there. Shane Brown. Blessed I was in the home end. 10 minutes in and zero hassle. Granted, wish I was with the Irish end, but scared of heights, so the stupid expensive seats ended up being perfect. Shit experience trying to get out of the stadium, but scale Ella. What does scale Ella mean, Martin?
I haven't got a clue. I have to ask Liam Scales. That was a brilliant interview, Liam Scales, that he done in Irish during the week. A brilliant idea as well. Your mate put him up to that, did he?
What, Kieran?
Yeah. No, it's a good idea. Like, it's brilliant. Like, that's what it's about. Like, we're engaging with our heritage and our history and culture, and that's very important. I think I've said that in the past that Noel Mooney done that fantastically well with the Welsh.
Yes, he went on Google Translator.
I know, but he speaks it though as well sometimes. You know, he does address the initial. I don't think we've heard Jonathan Hill speak Irish, have we?
Haven't fucking heard him speak. And in a completely unrelated matter, it means one story leads to another in Irish. Good man. It's a shame. And if it's not Stephen Kenny's swan song, I'm fucking tapping out because I was his biggest fan. But for fuck's sake, says Shane Brown, I think it is. I think it's safe to say it is. Darryl responds, his time is up after tomorrow, but it still will be emotional tomorrow to see him go. Not often you get a homegrown manager who knows the game here and wants the best. Fairy tale story, just not the ending. No. Yeah. Shane, again, there won't be 15k at New Zealand game, and I'll tell you, I sure don't think we'll be bang on for a win. Well, Stephen Kenny was talking up the opposition and got a couple of Premier League players. Chris Brown, he's one of them. Is he Burnley, Chris Brown? Or Wood? Chris Wood.
Chris Wood. He was he? And then he was Newcastle at one stage, wasn't he? Look at you looking.
Chris Wood. Nottingham Forest.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, but he was at Newcastle. He went around a bit, didn't he? Big money, I think.
Yeah. Looking up desperately. Thanks for hanging me there, man. Jesus Christ. I'm trying to look semi-professional, like I know what I'm talking about. Jeez. Yes, Chris Wood. He plays for Nottingham Forest. Thanks for that. Darryl O'Connor. Hopefully, Kenny joins the players for the lap and gets a respectful send-off. And thanks.
Yeah.
My Kenny poster will remain on my wall beyond his tenure. Oh, I know you're a big. I remember talking to Daryl in Athens. Hope you're feeling better, Daryl. Yeah, and big Kenny fan, but for him to say that, I must hurt. Newy Nurk, how you doing? I figured out why Ireland are playing New Zealand. Jace McClean's last match will be his 103rd cap. Therefore, the FAI arranged a match against a team ranked 103rd in the FIFA rankings. He's always very tactical, isn't he, Newy Nurk? Good man.
Yep.
I'm sure you're giving the FAI far too much credit to think that far ahead. Wheeler 123. The FAI have to get this next appointment spot on. This will be Jonathan Hill's, or will it be Mark Cannon's first men seniors team appointment? Do you think Jonathan Hill's going to get far enough to make the appointment or have a say in it, or do you reckon he's toast?
Well, we've got an AGM coming up, haven't we, soon, and just nothing ever surprises me with the FAI. What's going on? You don't know what might come out next. I mean, there's obviously dirt being dug. There's leaks from the FAI. The draw, I think, is February, isn't it, for the Nations League? So they've got time with the management thing, but it doesn't look good. If they let Kenny go, which we expect, we won't have a senior manager at women's or the men's level, and it's just not. It just shows it's still a bit of a mess, doesn't it? And then you've got all this other kind of administration errors in the background, and it just undermines everything. You're trying to sell season tickets, trying to generate interest. It's Christmas as well. I know I was going about the commercialism of it, but that brings in money, and it's just a shit show, isn't it? And it's like nothing's changed. And I kind of miss Oman.
the John Delaney derby.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's and as well, like, I mean, what was the fella of Leicester City? We haven't heard anything more about him, have we? The guy that was supposed to.
Yeah, but that was shite, wasn't it? But we need wingers. They didn't play wingers the other night. Like, it's just.
I mean, he looks a talent, that boy. But this is the thing.
Jim Crawford done his under-21 interview today. Was asked about the Andrew Moran thing, and very diplomatic actually. Jim, I thought his quotes were very, very good from it. But saying that everyone was delighted for him, and that they weren't going to be able to. He's been so good that they weren't going to be able to hold him in the under-21s. But I think he was just very diplomatic, and I probably got to protect himself a little bit. But they've got big games as well coming up, and they didn't do themselves any favors the other night with their performance losing 3-2. So that's a big game.
Italy tomorrow. Italy tomorrow 8:30 down at Tunner's Cross. Big game. Shame it's on the same bloody day as the seniors.
Mental, anyway. Though, isn't it? It's just shite. And a friendly. But the other ones are friendly, so it's just bullshit.
Ridiculous. Daryl O'Connor, Luxembourg away with some crack, standing on the chairs in the Pig Irish pub. 3-0 win. Kenny always seems to turn it around at the end of a campaign winner to give false hope. Well, I mean, a bit late for that. Evan Ganley, I would try Collins in a central defensive midfielder role. Jeez, it would be easy for me to say there, Evan. Do you know what? Somebody, I don't know who it was.
Called for before. That was called for before.
Could have been Evan as well, actually. Well, why not? Because, I mean, he can't defend.
Sorry. I'd rather he does what he's like, but, I think Egan's is worrying me a little bit. Egan's injuries now. Like, is that a little bit like Ender? Kind of, it came to the end for Ender with that kind of injury. And we're, I'd rather Collins and Omo Bamadelli. Easy for me to say. Scales, they're coming forward now as our defense. Even McGuinness. The Mark McGuinness, he's kind of being overlooked a little bit. I think the next manager might look at him, but we've got friendlies though now. March, June, we've got matches, and that's going to be a big experiment. And that's where Kenny couldn't do that because, results weren't good enough early on.
Well, no, he could have. He could have done it in last November, and he didn't. But that's a story for another day. And that, for me, was the win that finished him, in my opinion. Sebastian Knowlton. Fifth Finlay has a terrific reputation as a coach. Somebody give him a call. That is another WWF reference. Fifth Finlay from Belfast. Fantastic coach with the Performance Centre down in sunny Florida. Only, you can have your GAA, I can have my WWF. Wheeler 123. This possession-based football has to go against Tier 1 nations. I'm not sure why Kenny thought we would dominate possession against Holland. I mean, we didn't. But that was a poor Dutch team. And when we pressed them for the first few minutes in the first game, we were all over them because they weren't great. It was probably the worst Dutch team I can remember in my lifetime. But the problem was, as always, we start well and then we finish poorly because we can't keep it going for 90 minutes. That's been the issue. So you can be cute, you can be clever, you can be aggressive, and you can still pass it around. But, you know,
Yeah, but the Dutch team, like, I mean, I think you can correct me if I'm wrong here, but 2016, I don't think they qualified for Euro 2016. The Dutch, did they?
No, they didn't. No,
so they didn't. So you know, that's that we were at that tournament, and
2 years after
they've
being
had
in the
some
World Cup
players.
final, though. Or 6
Yeah,
years. World Cup final.
yeah, but and as well though, they come through in very cyclical. I think like the Dutch, like you know, you have like, I think they got to a Nations League final recently as well. So they're always going to be there and thereabouts. They're good technical players. You can go with that argument as well. Look at the development of technical players and players who are comfortable on the ball, and that's a big thing as well. Everything we do isn't looking after it, and we're not playing our football as often.
No.
He wants to play possession based. We knew that, but you can kind of look. I think you even spoke about it the other night. We 1-0 down against Andorra, and he had to change it. He doesn't do that against other teams though enough. Yeah, so
no, he hasn't done it through the whole thing. Right, but we'll crack on with the rest of these comments. Jim Bear, not sure why we expected to beat Greece. Ireland's never beaten Greece, and Greece won 2004 Euros. Are they that much better? No, I don't think either. But Kenny never beat anyone. Worst manager post Jack. Darrell O'Connor, wing backs and constantly picking up Doherty is something I'll never understand. No wonder he doesn't want him gone. Nice. Alfie Conley, how you doing, Alfie? I think you're a new commenter. Welcome. I personally think we should get Lee Carsley in. 100% agree with you, Alfie. Lee Carsley for me with his successor as his right hand man. Wheeler 123. I think Doherty's best days behind him. Were they ever in front of him? I don't think he would even make the Bows team at the minute. Yeah, very poor player. And just scroll down here. Darrell O'Connor. I know prices aren't everything to go by, but Jesus, I wouldn't want Lennon anywhere near that job. FAI have some track record of getting things wrong. Should I hold my breath? No. I mean, just no. Neil Lennon. Darrell O'Connor. Crucial that these in charge get this appointment right. No to Lennon, Bruce, and Allardyce. Alfie Conley. Would you want Lee Carsley in, Darrell? And Darrell goes, yes. Absolutely, his number one choice. Good man, Darrell. Evan Ganley, Doherty shouldn't have been the captain. He shouldn't have even been on the plane going to Amsterdam, in my opinion. Darrell O'Connor, Carsley, and maybe City development manager Barney Murphy as his assistant, with John O'Shea staying on. Very important that we have a successor, because Carsley, if he does well, he will be pipped. Sorry, he will be taken from us. So we need to have a successor after maybe two campaigns. Stephen Ring, only this game means nothing, and he has a bigger game to the under 21. So if Festi injured, Sam Curtis should be starting tomorrow. Wheeler 123. Lee Carsley would be a risk, but I wouldn't say no. Oh God, where have we gone here? I've lost my bearings. Bear with me. Talk amongst yourselves.
Let me just come in then on Doherty and why he's backing him. I think it's notable that he is the only one, though, really. I mean, I know a professional footballer's not going to come out and go, no, we don't back the manager. He was made captain the other night. I think Doherty knows himself, though. He's not been in good form. He's not even playing as club football, really. You know, he got the big move, of course, at Tottenham, and then he got the other move,
the big boot
around. But, you know, he obviously likes it. Like, I think that was a little bit of a kind of dig a little bit of the Martin O'Neill thing. I kind of read that into it, because remember when he said, when Martin O'Neill went, Martin O'Neill, we didn't even get coached, and I think that was a little bit of a slight. I think that is a little bit of a slight on him, and I just think Doherty's probably thinking I need to come across quite kind of nice about this, and he can't come out and say, oh no, we actually want the manager to go. It must be very awkward for the players coming into that environment where the manager's so under pressure, and they probably do feel they've let him down. But it's notable as well. They're not all. I think if you really, really want the manager to stay, senior pros are in the background talking to Jonathan Hill, Mark Canham, and they're saying, we actually believe in this. Look, we were unlucky. We've let the manager down. They've got to be coming out with that narrative a bit more. Now, James McClean wasn't going to do that today because he's pissed off, evidently. But, you know, and they've got a past relationship, of course. But I think there's not enough backing and not enough being slipped through the media, in a sense. And I think everyone just knows he's just fell short.
Yeah. No, it's fair. We're going to crack on with these. Got loads of comments to get through. Jim Bear says, would like Harvey Renard, a successful, tough, disciplined international manager making 400,000 a year. So he's affordable coaching. French women halftime speech in World Cup where Saudis beat Argentina was classic. David Kennedy, Keith Andrews, a terrible coach. That's widely known. Apologies. Cormac Murray, was this Mick McCarthy's last game before Kenny? Randolph, Stevens, Egan, Duffy, Doherty, Whelan, Harahan, Hendrick, Brown, McClean, McGoldrick, November 2019. Ireland team drew 1-1 with Denmark at home. I know, I remember that. And Doherty missed an absolute sitter. Then he scored. He actually scored an equaliser. Michael Connaughton, becoming the James McClean Roadshow. Well, I mean, yeah, he kind of he did that a little bit there. Just going through these, bit of conversation going on there between Daryl and Alfie. Patter Dugan, you can blame Kenny for a lot of things, but dropping a 35-year-old League Two makeshift left back who hasn't had a good game for us in that position is not one of them things. Kevin McGuinness, Dave, Matt Doherty, and Martin O'Neill should go for a point and thrash things out. I would love to be flying that wall. Holy Jesus. Yeah, he basically said, didn't he, on an RT interview that we didn't really know what we were doing when we went to training. There wasn't really much structure to it. And then Martin O'Neill rang up and called him a tosser several times. Amazing. Then Matt Doherty was like, oh, I don't want to talk about it. Cormac Murray, hasn't McClean been given a pile of opportunities with Ireland? He's 34. Hasn't he started most times he's been in squads? Is it no time to accept that it's limited opportunities when you reach your mid-30s? Will a new manager call him back in? Maybe for the first, if we have an interim manager, which I suspect we will have, I reckon he'll come back. They'll just to kind of tie things over. When you have an interim manager, I remember Noel King, good old Noli, did it after Trapattoni era where he brought loads of players back in that Trapattoni had exiled. So he built those bridges for the next permanent manager coming in, which is Martin O'Neill, which is smart. So that's what you tend to get, Cormac. So that's what I'm basing my logic on, to be fair. Oh, that makes sense. Jim Bear, good luck and thank you, Mr. James McClean. We will miss those terrific corners. I always felt we were dangerous on set pieces with his service. That is something that has improved, Martin, hasn't it? James McClean, he delivers like Amazon Prime, like just superb.
Yeah, no, I think it's actually improved a little bit, and I think it's a bit harsh to say that he's never played well. I mean, he got man of the match against Gibraltar, I think it was recently. I know it's Gibraltar, but you know, he's a good. He's been a fantastic servant for us, and you know, we've had incredible nights with him, thanks to him. You know, Austria away and the night in Cardiff as well. So you know, that was when he was probably at his peak for Ireland, I think, and yeah, he's been good.
Fair. Thomas Rooney, do you not think Roy Keane and John O'Shea should be management? No.
I said it a while ago, but I think it won't. I did say it a while ago. I was getting a bit carried away with it, but I've got changed my mind now on who I think.
Good man. Good man. Dave McGuinness, how you doing, David? After the presser today, I think this whole game tomorrow is a total farce. It should have been a good way to see Stephen off, but the slagging off of all results and managers, classless and pathetic. Jim Bear, good luck and thank you, James McClean. Oh, it's just a repeat of his last comment. Good man, Jim. David McGuinness continues. Anthony Barry beat Luxembourg 3-0, Dave. Let's be clear on that. The results from Portugal away, do Luxembourg's away. We're down to Barry. It was off cliff before that and went back off a cliff as soon as Barry's short stint was over. Kenny lost Luxembourg and has no right digging up decades-old results. A cheap, pathetic shot from Stephen Kenny. Zero class, zero dignity in the end. Well, I'm not sure about that. I do agree with you. You shouldn't be bringing it up, and especially, you know, with a big glass house behind him. And yes, you are right. Anthony Barry was a massive loss.
And that's the point, though. And that's the point that the next manager who I think we need to bring in has to be someone who's very, very experienced. And it's more about the coaches and it's getting them up and coming. Now, the rumor I heard the other night, I was chatting to someone who's in the bar and, you know, you hear all sorts of shite on the away trips. Probably from me. We had a good chat, didn't we?
I don't remember most of it, but
no. But you know, I was told that Lee Carsey has interviewed or but spoken to the FAI about the job, wants to bring in his own backroom staff, but the view is that they wanted to keep Keith Andrews and John O'Shea involved. Now, I do have a theory on this. I think it's very important for the FAI with their coaching setup. They do UEFA A and B and all C and everything. Obviously, the pro licenses. They want people who have come through their system, which Anthony Barry did, John O'Shea has, Keith Andrews has, Andy Reid, Stephen Reid, I think as well. They want people like that who are going to be involved because it sets that you come through our system, our kind of philosophy. I think that's why that Kazi wants his own people, which I can understand. But I think that's where, if they want to bring in I think, to be honest with you, Keith Andrews is probably tarred because he's too close to it. And I think it was pretty embarrassing when he was up in the Greek press conference, all the rubbish really with Gus Poyet and stuff. John O'Shea's come to it late. I think he'll be kind of protected a little bit reputationally as well, what he achieved. I do think, though, we need a very experienced coaches coming in.
Would you want to keep anybody from this management team? And it's a failed management team, and it is. And
yeah,
just what I spoke about.
Entirely no problem.
But the coaching's been poor, Martin. And that comes from the coach. That comes from John O'Shea. That comes from Keith Andrews. I mean,
I think John O'Shea, he's come to it too late, though. John O'Shea, to be tarred with it, to be honest.
No,
you can't come into it
about a year now, Martin, to be fair.
No, you can't come into it. You can't come into it too late, and then there's a way of playing.
He's been in it for a year.
Yeah, but I don't think Anthony Barry.
No. To be fair, Anthony Barry came into it late. And he made an effect there. John O'Shea hasn't. And I'm sorry, but would you really want to keep anybody from a poor management setup? And we spoke about the simple.
Well, I think you get goalkeeper coaches do that, don't they? They normally survive a cull in a sense, don't they? The goalkeeper.
Yeah, because they look after the goal. I mean, I don't think you could.
No, but I think you're very safe with it. If you look at like it was what you said earlier with Noel King bringing back kind of a safe kind of people. I mean, look, when Stan came back, he brought all the backroom staff back in with him, didn't he? Mick Byrne, everyone. It was all like
Tony Hickey back as well.
Yeah, joint jobs to the boys. I think that's a little bit. You don't want to go down that route. No, exactly. And I think it's just a bit. Time moves on.
If Lee Carsley wants to bring his own staff in, if we do get Lee Carsley, let him bring his own staff in. Because you know what, he's won a Euros.
I think
he's ready for the next level.
What they worry about then, though, is that's the thing. Why they probably want to keep Keith Andrews and John O'Shea is because it's going to be interim manager. Yeah, and even them two doing it. But is that going to sell tickets? Is that going to be satisfying the public?
Well,
unless you can say, right, wait for Lee Carsley to finish up with the under-21s in the tournament or whatever it is, or we're waiting for the Euros to see how that goes as there are international managers available. I don't really want an international manager. I don't want Renard, who, I don't know enough about him, to be honest. But I don't want anyone I'm not familiar with. I don't want to go down the route of that. I want an older, experienced manager now. And I don't really... I'm going to say Chris Hughton. And I don't care about the football because I don't think he's going to be dictating the football in a way. I know that sounds absurd with the manager, but I think the coaching... Like the philosophy changed a little bit. Anthony Barry with Stephen Kenny because he was bringing the ideas.
No, the set piece. Well. No. You saw the difference.
Yeah, like, I know that. Yeah.
No, but that's coaching, Martin.
Yeah.
Keith Andrews is not a top coach. John O'Shea is not a top coach, right? Let's be honest here. They're not.
I know that. Yeah.
Okay. Anthony Barry is a top coach. That's why he was headhunted. That's why he goes with Thomas Tuchel, who's a Champions League winner. Yeah. That's why he's at Bayern Munich. That's why he went to Belgium, right? He got handpicked because he's a top coach. You saw immediately when he went in there the effect. Like that.
Yeah.
We were better with set pieces. We were more organized. What happened there against Saturday where Andrews is telling the lads to push up and the rest of the guys don't go? That wouldn't have happened under Barry. We were so well organized. Now, a couple of games after Barry went, because there's muscle memory. There is muscle memory in the team. When a team is coached, there is muscle memory. And you saw that, I think it was against Belgium, the 2-2 game against Lithuania. And then it just started to fall apart gradually. So he's a top coach. You see the effect that top coach has. Okay, the FAI might want to have an interim manager, but at the end of the day, if a manager wants to come in and he goes, listen, I don't want these guys. I choose who I work with. Then the manager has to choose who he works with. Same with Stephen Kenny. I
get that, but I think the thing about attracting Carsley is that you've got to say to him, you're going to be, we can't have you here and you just piss off out the door because Blackburn come calling you or someone else, right?
If
so you've got to give us this contract or what they'll do is they'll have to go put it in their contract, massive compensation, which then that puts us in the situation with the FAI, knowing that if you put £2 million on Lee Carsley's head as a contract, that's not an awful lot of money to release him from.
If you have his predecessor lined up, and that could be John O'Shea, by the way, as assistant manager. then fair enough. You put him in there with him because he's going to step in. Because if you do a great job, Lee, you're going to go away.
Yeah.
But anyway, listen, we better move this on. Guess it's someone's house, so I can't go too late. Darrell O'Connor turns around and says, "Great to see Scout speaking on Squelga." That's Irish, Martin. Need more of it and something I push for Crisk as a fluent speaker. Good man, Darrell. Bit of Osquelga, you know, Boolabus. That means round of applause, Martin. Moving on. Alfie Connolly. I would love to see Lee Carsley be the manager. He's so good. He is. Ronan Tilley. Kenny saying the Dutch result was not like losing to Macedonia. Thought it left a bad taste in the mouth. McCarthy was respectable to Kenny the other night. Shithouse Kenny to slag on McCarthy campaign. Yeah, it was a bit silly. And it was very early in the campaign. That was the last time he played 3-5-2 with Mick because he was trying to play 5 at the back. And then Andy Townsend had a go with him and he went back to 4-4-2 and we got better. Dave McGuinness, emotional to see him go. He's not a fucking volunteer. Emotional, Miho, it's long overdue. Dave McGuinness again. I wanted to go gracefully and with respect, but that presser today, nope. And he continues, Dave McGuinness, Hill has to go. It's untenable for him. They've got time to sort out all the vacancies. The entire board have to go. Too many Delaney'ites still infecting the FAI. Get Niall Quinn back in and revisit his plans. Don't know about that. But,
Right. Yeah. I'll let me just come in on that. David,
very, very quickly.
Brilliant. No, I do appreciate David's feedback, and he obviously knows a lot of other stuff going on in there. And I agree with you with the Hill situation. Niall Quinn, no, I mean the plan. I'd have no problem with Niall coming in there, but I think you have to make sure. You know, Niall's plan was a bit Mickey Mouse. What I read of it, and yeah, it wasn't very inspiring. I think, you know, these senior ex-players, and I know they're a long generation away now. Niall probably, all right, he's kept his hand in. Packy Bonner's obviously on the board. I think Packy Bonner was raging about some of the recent ongoings at the FAI, and, you know, powerful voice at the end of the day, Packy. And yeah, I think that's something that, you know, it's always interesting, isn't it, Irish football?
Never lets you down.
No.
Shane Brown, question: what was the most disappointing aspect of this weekend? The lack of spirit, the lack of game time changes by Stephen Kenny, the weather in Amsterdam, the inevitability of the loss, the weather, because I expected everything else, and a bloody hole in my Converse as well.
Yeah, the windows weren't as good as in 2004 either.
No. I mean, it was dead rubber, wasn't it? Complete dead rubber.
I'm on about a different.
I know you're on about a different one. It's a family show. It's a family show. Although I was very happy to see the fan of the Green Machine actually tapping on the window, saying hello to me, waving me. She's waving this way.
Okay, move on.
Move on. Yeah. Nurick, you laugh at Oman, but the FAI would love playing against countries who will pay for the privilege of a game against us, like Oman. Yeah, that doesn't surprise me. And Nurick, he would know. He would know. Stephen Ring, Jonathan Hill's been a disaster. Still no sponsor for the men. No women's team manager. Mozart Fear left. No backing of women after the Celtic Symphony situation, Celtic situation. All the money issues coming out, and the biggest catastrophe of all, bringing in Castori, who, despite designing 2 dire jerseys, outdid themselves and made an even worse 3rd kit in black. 100% there. Agree with you, Stephen. It's been absolutely abysmal. The guy who was brought in to steer the FAI away from controversy is now at the centre of it. And he still doesn't live in Ireland. Amazing. Wheelo 123, come on home, Kenny. Back to Dundalk. Has gone to Shite as well. Always welcome back to the dugout in Oriel. Good man, Wheelo. You're right, Dave, says Dave McGuinness. Good man, Dave. Absolutely correct. Cowardly managing last November. Yep, that finished it for me. I said at the time, I knew this guy wasn't the man. Dave McGuinness, damn you, Martin. He reminded me of that it took us 71 minutes to break a door down. That's 6 months of therapy down the drain. Awful day that was. The beginning of Kenny's sideline antics. Do you remember a comment you made that day, Martin, on the WhatsApp group?
Well, Andorra.
Mm-hmm. When we were 1-0 down.
I can't remember one of my comments of the million.
This especially the voice notes. But you know what you said, and it's actually, it's literally just popped in my head. You said when we're 1-0 down, do you think he'll walk? That's what you said. You did. Genuinely. No, you did. Check it.
Oh, he'd have to walk if we lost that game.
Yeah. I remember you said that. Dave McGuinness, using with Reed and O'Shea, none of this Keenan Lennon nonsense. Carsley won't touch it. He knows he's a Euros in 2028 and World Cup 2030 with England, if not sooner. No, I disagree. I think Newton, the way people go on about Newton, the football is absolutely dire. He doesn't play 4-3-3, which Mark Cannon wants. He's the technical director, so that's a no anyway. And you have to remember, yes, he got 3 promotions, but struggled in the Premier League every time. And he was a bit of a plaster man. He'd plaster stuff over, but no, trust me, he'd be in charge, and you wouldn't want him around for too much longer. And he's a lovely fella, trailblazer and all that, but no, not for me. Cormac Murray, what was this obsession with possession-based style of play, etc.? Do you not play to a style to suit your players? You have to be flexible in game and depending on opposition. The style thing is something will surely take years to change from youth school levels up, investment and from government, etc. That's true. Very difficult to rip up a philosophy, Cormac, especially when you've only got the players for a couple of days a week. That's, you take them off to the odd camp, which the FAI did give Kenny plenty of camps, and we saw how they went, most notably the one in Turkey. But look, there's enough there to play a decent style of football that's aggressive, and that's one thing we've lacked: aggression. Alfie Conley, do you think the FAI could afford Lee Carson, but maybe has pressure from the FA to stay on as the England first manager? Be a hell of a carrot over his head, wouldn't it?
He won't get the England job, I don't think.
He won't. He's
not big
I
enough.
agree there.
Sadly, whatever he does under 21s, he's not going to get big. No. He's not going to be big enough.
No. Going back to Jonathan Hill being a travesty, Gavin Keaney made a good point on Twitter. Only Northern Ireland, Andorra and Luxembourg have as new full-time academy coaches as Ireland. Have as few, full-time academy coaches as Ireland. Dave McGuinness, the camp is flat and has been flat since Greece away. He lost the players after meeting at home, got them back for France home and Greece away, but lost them after that. Doherty was just playing safe with the press, being diplomatic. They know he's going. Yuri Nurek. Not a hope in hell of getting Harvey Renard. He took 75% pay cut to take charge of French women. He's not going to leave that job, especially with home Olympics next summer. Excellent point, Nuri. Dave McGuinness again. With Newton, you'll get results, and you get Reid and the Shea coach and ready themselves for the future when Newton moves on.
That's it.
No,
that's a safe shout. Media savvy, reputationally played at tournaments at Ireland. Was been there with Kerr. I think it's a very safe choice, but more the media. He'll be impressed in front of the media. You can look back historically and stuff. Otherwise, the other one is people wouldn't, I don't think, be averse to Mick going in again. It's that kind of elder statesman, kind of with a real experience
playing old school football and direct football.
That's my point. No, but that's my point. I think you've got to trust that. There's just the manager.
He's never played. He will come in and look at those. He will look at those players. He will look at those players and go, right, I don't, where this is Ireland, because he's lived in England. Well, he's from England. He was born in England. He's Irish, but he was born in England. And he will look at those players and go, nah, not for me. We're going to place it. We're going to get results. Look at the last campaign. Look at the state of that. The whole thing is going to be now, the mantra that's going to be thrown out there is that we tried to play the passing game and we failed. No. It was a poor attempt at trying to play a passing, different style of football. It was badly done. The plan was excellent. The execution was poor. Right?
No,
I want to see
you
a
allow
proper
the
manager
to come through. You allow the under-21s to play in that system.
Well, these lads are playing the system on a Kenny.
Yeah, they can, but I think you just got to. I seriously think he'd be fine.
No, I don't. I think it'd be boring, and we'd be back to the Trapattoni style nonsense, unless Mark Cannon.
There'll be the balance of getting results and playing against. Do
you honestly think?
At times?
Right, here's the interview. Chris, Irish legend, whatever. I want you to play 4-3-3 style of football, not the boring stuff. You haven't got the players to do that. Well, that's what we're playing. Well, I don't want the job.
Yeah, but I don't think he's going to be able to dictate that Mark Cannon. I think that's not going to be. But that lad could be gone. That Mark Cannon could be gone in 2 years' time. It's nonsense.
Never even heard of him.
We've had the 2 Dutch lads come in as well, and their philosophy, and we're buying into that. It's the infrastructure's there.
They did a good job.
It's not there, but 15s, 16s, 19s, all that youth teams are coming through, and it's in spite of what the FAI have ever done for it. But and funding has got to come. That's why we got to get a house in order. But I've got no problem with a senior manager coming in, getting results, and trusting now. It came in a bit too soon. We had the COVID thing with Kenny. It came a bit too quick, having to fast track him. We've sorted that out now. That fast tracking thing. That's what Kenny's done. I know David McGuinness will be killing me now, going, it wasn't Kenny, it was going to happen. And so did Nick say that. But what I'm saying is he did do that. He made that point. they've come through. They're inexperienced. We'll now have an experienced manager.
Mm.
We've said this before. Have an experienced manager would have got Mick would have got better results in this group
Yeah.
than Stephen Kenny. What's that? Do you agree with that, Dave?
Mick
Out of
McCarthy.
this group, Mick McCarthy, if he was managing the same group in this qualifying campaign just gone, would we have done more than just get 6 points off Gibraltar?
The first incarnation of Mick, yes. Not the later one.
Oh no, I think Mick. Well, no, I think he would have got results though. Not he
Yeah,
might
would've
not.
got, he probably got
He
draws.
would have got
and stuff.
more. Yeah, he
Yeah.
would have got draws.
But
Yeah.
but where are you going to have some of the brightest young players in Europe playing that style? What's the point? We spoke
No,
about
but
this before, man.
yeah. No, I just think he would have got met.
You really
when it comes down
want to
results.
go there? But you really want to go there and watch 10 men behind the ball hit it up long?
No, we don't.
Or no, exactly.
But I think he's earned
That's-
that now. The next manager's coming. Yeah, but I think with coaches, that's my point.
That's-
He's coming in. It's with really good coaches coming in.
What?
That's the key thing.
Who to go coach? Yeah, what Andrews
Well,
and O'Shea.
No, I'm saying
Anyway,
Andy Reid, Stephen Reid.
It depends. The message has to be correct. Anyway, we better move this on. We need to move on with this. Sweat is absolutely pumping out of me. I need to crawl back into bed. On my own, sadly. Alfie Conley, do you think the FAI could afford Lee Carroll, but maybe has pressure from the FA to stay on as England's first manager? We did ask that. And he ain't going to get the English job. Sorry, I've got lost. See, Martin, you've upset me now. You've upset me. Hold on. Here we go. Daryl O'Connor. Sorry about that, folks. I keep O'Shea. I get rid of that. I get that clown. Andrews out. Whelan 123. I get rid of Andrews. He talked rubbish on and off the ball for years. David McGuinness. Keep O'Shea only. He's still learning and is not responsible for the 3.5 years for the culture that set in. Barry is far more experienced and accomplished coach than O'Shea. I think O'Shea is a good number 3. Keep Andrews as interim. Ludicrous. I'd rather Roddy Collins. Oof. Reid has been a number 2 and O'Shea an up and coming number 3. They could be the future 1 and 2 with youth leading them.
I'd have that.
Oh God. Is that a burner account you have, is it? Have you hacked David's account there? Would you give the job to Noel umpteen times King, Tony O'Donoghue? Have some fun interviewing him again. Stephen Ring, Johan Lowe is still on a national team and is absolutely proven international football. Will absolutely be worth interviewing him for the position if he wants it. Pat McCabe, isn't Carsey in the same vein as Kenny? No, I think he's better. I mean, this is a guy who's come through. He's learned he was a manager at Coventry and Birmingham, played a defensive style, went to Barcelona, watched him play and thought, that's for me. And then he was actually in charge of the youth teams at Man City, did a great job. And then he went to England and won the under-21s. He's still a risk. Don't get me wrong. He's still a risk, but I think he's a much better risk than Kenny. He's like a premium version of Kenny. And I don't mean to sound disrespectful there. Alfie Conley. Sorry, lads, I didn't realise it went twice on both platforms. No problem, Alfie. JP Byrne, I'd start Duffy and Ferguson up front. Lump it long. The FAI have gone officially English by the looks. They are mostly English, says Alfie. You hear that, Martin? Dave McGuinness. Packy has to say he's livid at the goings on and is a huge advocate for change. Will you both and Nick be at the Claddagh for Lean Brady event? We're going to be at the Claddagh, David, so we hope to see you there. I don't think Nick will, but we will definitely be there. We got a few special plans for that on the 14th of December. Where can you get your tickets, Martin?
You don't have to buy tickets. It's just come up on the door. But if you want to pre-book just drop me a private message on at Prendy. Is that me? At Prendy or at Risk London, and I'll reserve a ticket for you. Well, I'll reserve a spot on the door or whatever. But yeah, it's just generally open to everyone at the Christmas party. Liam Brady got some brilliant raffle prizes. John Giles, his son, sent me a fantastic shirt the other day signed by the legend, and I'm going to get Liam Brady to sign that as well. So yeah, we'll have a great night. So welcome to come along.
Good man.
And you'll have to meet Dave.
You get to meet me. I mean, that's the main event. Liam Brady's just a warm-up act. You see, Martin will be on the door. He'll be with his old his old suitcase full of tickets, coming out of retirement since the digital age. Stephen Ray, agree with Dave. Good man, Stephen. That's 2 people agree with me tonight. Man, that's a record. I think Houghton isn't the answer. He's not. Maybe 10 years ago he would have, but not now. Good man. Gerard Blair, you pick is basically between 3 people for the job: Keane, Bruce, or Lennon.
Who would you pick? I think. I mean,
Out of those
was-
three, I go for Bruce out of those three, to be honest. I know who you go for, man. Yeah, Keane, yeah.
Yeah.
Fucking hell. Michael Connaughton, Mick becoming the Irish Howard Kendall, can't come back 3 times. He bloody well can. Dave McGuinness, I take Mick over again after some of the other names linked, but it's Houghton for me. Dave McGuinness again. I know Houghton's son, Cian, and he knows the structure of the plan the FAI want, and he gets it. He'll adapt to the FAI plan and turn the results around. And I read and I should take forward for a couple of campaigns. If that's what happens, fantastic. I'd be happy with that. But I don't think it will. Stephen Rain, Dave, when is that Green Machine hoodie going to be in the shop? It is a very nice hoodie, actually, isn't it? Just saying. Don't know, Stephen, but we got some big plans coming next year. Daryl O'Connor, Houghton, not for me either. Good man, Daryl. If not Carsley, I really don't know who. Dave McGuinness, you've got to come to terms with the fact that the bulk of fan base are pro results first and entertainment second. I know it's not here you're at.
Where you
but
are
that's
at.
the where you are. I can't see. Listen to Giles. Understand. We want results before everything else. I don't know.
You have to
had that
build it
little
up
trap.
again with that, but I think, I think you have to get that back though. That's the thing. Like, I know we want to watch entertainment football and that, but and not just go there and sit behind the ball and get a 1-0. But you have to start qualifying for tournaments, and I think then develop the technicality underage with people involved in the process, like John O'Shea, the coaching groups coming through. You know, that's the philosophy. Eventually, that comes through into the first team.
Fair. Greg Foley, Noel King and Don King, the next management team. Cornelius Barnett, see our neighbours beat Denmark tonight. We couldn't beat them. Who our neighbours are Denmark. Alfie Connolly, I didn't realise Shanton Hill didn't live in Ireland. I thought he would be as part of meetings and other things. No, he is managing through the internet, really, I suppose. Maybe it's got something to do with why everything's gone to shit whilst he's not there. I don't know. And the final comment is Kevin McGuinness, Houghton for me. Don't think Carsley would go. Guys, thank you so much for your comments. We're going to be live tomorrow for the pre-match show. Martin, you going to be on the pre-match with me?
Tomorrow night? Yep, I'll be there.
Good man.
That's
and
the
also
plan at the moment. What time's that, Dave?
That's an hour before kickoff, Martin.
Thank you, Dave. I was just asking for the listeners.
An hour before kickoff, as always. So about 6:45, once we get the team in place, then we're going to go live for about 20 minutes. Then we're going to watch the fun unfold before our very eyes at Lansdowne Road for Stephen Kenny's farewell. And then we're going to have the post-match aftermath. So we'll be live there again tomorrow night, as always. Right. Well, Martin, thank you for joining us. Thank you at home for listening and watching. And of course, you can head over to the YouTube channel if you're not watching us on YouTube. Go on, give us a cheeky subscribe on the YouTube channel. You've also got a Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Right, I think, Martin, we're going to leave with a bit of class. Now, I know he let himself down a bit with his comments made about previous managers, but I'm going to share and leave you all with a tender, lovely moment between Stephen Kenny and James McClean, both, if you're to believe what you read, making their final appearance for the boys in green. Thank you and good night.
Remember that, it's not many players go out on their own terms like James is doing on the 103. I remember seeing you in the showgrounds in the under 18 team, and you came into that team at Derry, very excited, and came into the team where we sort of had a rule when we went to the first division that time that everyone had to be from within 6 miles of the whole team's from within 6 miles of the sea. Very strong, wasn't it, that period?
Yeah, that was obviously that was one of the most special times in my career, because we were all young, and we were all mates. So it was basically playing football with your mates. We would go out on the Friday and put teams away for fun, and then we would go out that night. So we wasn't.
Manager know about those nights?
He does now. Nah, that was obviously a special time. Like I said, it was a local team. We were all best mates. We were having the time of our lives, playing with so much freedom, which the manager gave us, and we got promoted, and we were probably very, very unfortunate not to won the league this
Because
season
we
after.
sold you. That's why we sold you in the August window. But I think they have too late to replace you. But to go on and get 103 caps, then, is it's phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal.